Gerard Gierliński is a paleontologist from Poland, born in Warsaw. He has a PhD from Loyola University in Chicago. Gierliński is a researcher with the Polish Geological Institute. He has spent years studying fossilized footprints from dinosaurs to early mammals. Gierliński is a world-renowned expert in dinosaur fossils, specializing in fossilized footprints. He was also a scientific consultant on the Jurassic Park movie. Smithsonian. Paleontologist Gerard Gierliński of Poland discovered ape-like tracks on a beach near the village of Trachilos while on vacation in western Crete in 2002. CBC 2018. Gierliński's trip to the Greek island of Crete in 2002 was meant to be a romantic getaway for him and his girlfriend Beata. CBC, quote, "It's an amazing, beautiful area," end quote, Gierliński recalled. But being a paleontologist at the Polish Geological Institute, Gierliński was also prepared to record any discoveries he might make. Quote, "I always carry, even on vacation, a hammer, a camera, and a GPS," end quote, he said. One morning, they were strolling along Trachilos Beach in Crete. While Beata paused to take in the scenery, Gierliński wandered off into the rocky area a few yards away from the sand. His foot caught on a slab of sandstone, and he glanced down. What he saw would change everything. Footprints, human-like and ancient, pressed into the rock beneath him. Excavations and analysis. 8 years later, formal excavation and conservation initiatives were initiated along Crete's shoreline. Gierliński brought in Swedish ancient footprints expert Professor Per Ahlberg as part of the excavation team. A paper was published in the Proceedings of the Geology Institute in 2017. The Trachilos locality in western Crete would show hominid-like characteristics dated to approximately 5.7 million years ago, just prior to the Messinian salinity crisis. Continuing from the abstract, the interpretation of these footprints is potentially controversial. The track maker was possibly a member of the clade homininae. We must also entertain the possibility that they represent a hitherto unknown late Miocene primate. The team continued to analyze the footprints, took casts, and initiated preservation efforts. A second paper was published in 2021, Age Constraints for the Trachilos Footprints in Crete. Initially, the research team had come up with an age of 5.7 million years ago, but in the second paper, that was revised to 6 million years ago. Climate upheaval in the upper Miocene. Quick note, the Miocene period extends from 23 million years ago to 5.3 million years ago. During the Upper Miocene, a series of enormous climatic crises dramatically altered the original habitats of the Euro-Miocene apes, forcing migrations, adaptations, and potential evolutionary shifts. The phase, recognized as the Mid-Balazian, exhibited features of intensified aridity alongside extensive deforestation. This resulted in a significant extinction event affecting numerous mammalian species approximately 10 million years ago. The Messinian salinity crisis led to a significant drying of the eastern Mediterranean climate, creating land bridges between Eurasia and Africa that may have facilitated the migration of the Miocene apes. According to Science Alert, the Mediterranean sea levels would have been significantly decreased. Crete would have been attached to Greece at this point. The Miocene apes likely expanded from their native habitat as far south as Africa. Euro-Miocene apes give rise to the Afro-Great apes. In 1950, Mary Leakey unearthed the first prehistoric ape, proconsul, which is approximately 25 million years old, on Rusinga Island in Kenya. Subsequent discoveries, including Civethanthropus, emerged in later years. In 1960, Louis Leakey and his team uncovered fossils of Graecopithecus in eastern Kenya, an early Miocene ape. But curiously, there is an extreme paucity of fossil evidence in Africa after Graecopithecus, starting around 10 million years ago. This gap lasts till Sahelanthropus chidensis and Oroyantuginensis, which appear in the fossil record in Africa starting 5 to 6 million years ago. The lack of fossil evidence in Africa from 10 million years ago to the rise of Sahelanthropus at 6 million years ago indicates a significant 4 to 5 million year gap. An intriguing narrative emerges, depicting how a Euro-Miocene ape contributed to the genesis of the earliest hominins in Africa, such as Sahel, Oroyan, Arnapithecines, and the Australopithecines. Euro-Miocene apes and Afro-Australopithecines exhibit remarkable anatomical similarities, especially in traits for arboreal movement such as curved phalanges and reduced canines. Dilemma for scientists. Did a Euro-Miocene ape give rise to the African great apes? Or did a Euro-Miocene ape give rise to just the last common ancestor of chimpanzees and the hominin line? The split could have happened on the African continent, or as the Smithsonian notes, the results from the Graecopithecus mandible suggest that the split between great ape and human lineages happened in southern Europe, not Africa. This hypothesis, suggesting a divergence between Miocene apes and hominids on the European continent, has ignited significant debate and controversy, which we will explore later in the video. Which Miocene ape? Several Euro-Miocene apes, such as Oroyanopithecus from 10 million years ago and Anadaluvius from 9 million years ago, are potential last common ancestor candidates. Oroyanopithecus lived in what is now Macedonia during the late Miocene between 9.6 and 7.4 million years ago. Anadaluvius, the newest discovery among the Euro-Miocene apes, announced in 2023, boasts fossil specimens that are shockingly well preserved. From the Archaeologist 2023, Graecopithecus from adjacent Greece and Bulgaria and Anadaluvius are a group that most closely resembles their earliest known hominids. El Greco. El Greco es un nombre especial para un primate que vivió en Europa hace 8,000 años. Smithsonian. In 1944, German soldiers dug up the first of these specimens, a mandible, while building a bunker outside Athens, Greece. The Greco tooth, a fossilized upper premolar, was discovered by workers at a quarry in Asmaka, Bulgaria in 2012. Nikolai Spasov of the Natural History Museum in Sofia matched the tooth to the mandible from Greece. Spasov and his fellow Bulgarian Madeleine Bohm declared the species Graecopithecus. The archaeologist who first examined the Graecopithecus tooth whimsically dubbed the species El Greco, a moniker that gained traction in media coverage. El Greco was a Renaissance-era Spanish painter, renowned for his dramatic and expressionistic style that helped to shape European art history. Iasos, tikanetekaria, efaristopoli, poli akoriasto nakanotin niormiesas. El Greco, Domenicos Theotokopoulos, was born on the island of Crete in 1541. He later moved to Italy and Spain. Haaretz, 2021. The new paper Nature suggests the printmaker could have been Graecopithecus freibergi, a species discovered in 1944 and popularly dubbed El Greco. Greco, ancestral to the last common ancestor in Europe or Africa? Most scientists agree that the footprints from Crete likely come from the youngest of the Euro-Miocene apes, 7-million-year-old Graecopithecus. Ruth Schuster, Haaretz, 2021. Some even hypothesize, based on El Greco's teeth and the enigmatic Cretan footprints by El Greco, that it may be our earliest post-pan chimp direct ancestor. That would potentially cut off Sahelanthropus chilensis from the human lineage. Smithsonian. Researchers say it's possible the bipedal creature who made the marks was Graecopithecus, a human ancestor discovered in 1944, nicknamed El Greco. London Telegraph. Europe was the birthplace of mankind, not Africa, scientists find, 2017. Madeleine Bohm, quote, I personally don't think that the descendants of Graecopithecus die out. They may have spread to Africa later, end quote. Continuing, Bohm, quote, the split of chimps and humans, our data support the view that this split was happening in the Eastern Mediterranean, not in Africa, end quote. Ancient Origins 2023, quote, our findings suggest that the hominins not only evolved in Europe, but spent over 5 million years evolving there and spreading to the Eastern Mediterranean and into Africa, end quote, said David Begoun, University of Toronto. Archaeology News Network, quote, El Greco is the oldest known hominid, several 100,000 years older than the oldest potential pre-human from Africa, 6 to 7 million year old Sahelanthropus chilensis from Chad, end quote, Spasov said. Upsetting out of Africanists. Should the footprints be attributed to an early hominid rather than Miocene apes? This would challenge the very notion of solely African origins. Schuster, Haaretz. The footprints have the potential to change the picture of the earliest human evolution, moving it from Africa to the Mediterranean and to Europe. Smithsonian 2021 believed to be left by hominids, the footprints could upend scientists' understanding of how early humans evolved, moving the group's starting point from Africa to the Mediterranean Sea. Science Alert 2021. These footprints were found on the island of Crete, not Africa, throwing up even more questions about where ancient hominids first evolved and adds some doubt to the commonly known out of Africa theory. Reaction from the out of Africanists. Upon its initial announcement in 2017, the theory positing European origins for the Crete footprints faced significant opposition. Individuals advocating for the Africa origins only hypothesis, especially within academia, expressed significant discontent. This included attempts to conceal the dissemination of the findings. CBC, Gierliński's claim generated vicious criticism and disbelief from other scientists in a field where most influential researchers are committed Africanists. Continuing, Per Arborg in Sweden was the member of Gierliński's team who took responsibility for getting the research published and described the process as quote-unquote 6.5 years of a sort of living hell. European last common ancestor. Professor Alberg was on a recent episode of History with Kaylee. He expressed his strongly held view that the Greek footprints were made by a hominid. Alberg illustrated his point by referencing Robinson Crusoe, describing how he was quote-unquote thunderstruck upon encountering human footprints and immediately identifying them as belonging to others. Alberg tells Kaylee that the footprints show that a pre-human was living in Europe at the same time as Aurorian tugenensis 5.8 million years ago. Quote, I find it hard to believe that it's anything else. You'd have to make something up. That's rather silly. End quote. He then goes on to make a stunning remark. Quote, where do those lineages branch off from each other? Chimpanzees, gorillas, and hominids. That's extremely hard to say, but it could have just as well have been in Bulgaria as in the Central African Republic. End quote. Crete. For a brief moment, Gierliński's girlfriend, Beata, was stranded, left behind on an isolated beach, an awkward few moments on a summer holiday. But fate had conspired to reveal something far greater, a glimpse into our prehistoric past. A vacation detour, a chance discovery, leading to one of the greatest revelations in human evolution since Lucy. Evidence of a separate and distinct lineage, El Greco from Greece to modern extant Europeans. Thank you for watching. A quick note, these videos are very difficult to make and time consuming, so please show your support for the channel by subscribing. Thank you.